if you're traveling, if you're going to anything in a distance under 1,000 kilometers, I think you should take the train. I don't think you should fly at all. Um, and above it, preferably the train, but I understand that not everybody has like this amount of time. But if you take a flight, maybe use it to really do something for a longer period and an occasion, not for a city trip, to go to Paris for 2 days and then fly back.
This episode of Grounded in Maine is sponsored by ESG Review. ESG Review magazine is published quarterly in February, May, August, and November, and is available for free in print and digital formats. ESG Review is devoted to environmental, social, and governance strategies, technologies, and investments. ESGreview.net is updated every Wednesday with 8 new stories and is home to feature articles, news items, and more. Visit esgreview.net to stay informed and help us spark the collaboration and awareness needed to develop sustainable economies and communities around the world.
There's a place where there's no trouble, no more pain, no more struggle.
Grounded in Maine podcast is an open conversation about how we show up for the world. I started this podcast out of a desire to learn new ways to be sustainable because the word sustainability is big. It can be overwhelming, and I just wanted to learn, different ways to try to be part of the solution and not feel like it's too late. So I'm talking to people who are doing different things and learning so much. I hope you are too. Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy Fagan, and I have a guest today. Her name is Clara Franken, and Clara I found on, I think, a newsletter. I think I found you on a newsletter, and I was like, Travel Devil is her podcast name. And I'm like, I need to hear more about this. And so Clara is talking about sustainable travel, and she's interviewing people who are doing similar things. So I wanted to bring her on to talk about what she is doing and also what she's learned from the conversations that she's had. So Clara, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really grateful to be on the podcast today.
Yay. And I'm loving your podcast. I just think that I love the idea of it. And I love the idea of people being more thoughtful about travel because, when you're thinking about vacation, you think of, at least I think of like hotels and all the glasses with the plastic covering and all the to-go items. And it's just, for me, it feels very, I don't want to say stressful, but like I feel um, sort of hypocritical personally. Like it's not an environment that I enjoy. I enjoyed exploring other places, but hotels are not really my vibe. And so I'm just curious to hear what other people are doing. So,
Yeah.
so Travel Devil is your podcast name. And so can you tell us a little bit about the podcast?
Yeah, of course. So basically, it all started because I wanted to get inspired, just like you, and by talking with other people. Before I had a podcast, I had a YouTube channel under my name, Clara Franken, and I did some interviews with some people who were traveling sustainably. And at the time, I was very interested in it, but I still had like a long distance relationship, which meant that I would fly out to see my boyfriend. And I was in the conversations that I was having, I was realizing that okay, I want to really like inspired me to change the way I travel, basically, and definitely for short haul flights, like don't take it anymore. Like I don't fly anymore for short trips at all since like the last, I would say, 7 years. Um, so this means for me that I yeah, I just decided to change to travel differently. I had this YouTube channel, and after I started this YouTube channel, I just realized it takes so much time to literally edit the YouTube videos because nobody wants to look at the Zoom call. I did all my interviews over Zoom. It's just like Amy and I are talking right now. So a lot of editing work, and I was like, okay, people want to learn more. It's less work if I make a podcast. I was thinking about it for a long time, and I launched it 1.5 years ago. I'm really happy with it. I try to post every week. Mostly it's 2 times a month. So I'm still trying to get in a good rhythm. But it's inspiring to me to talk with people who travel differently. So it's all about sustainable travel, different ways of traveling. And everybody has their own point of view. For me, sustainable travel can be something different than for you. And I might like to travel by train, and you might prefer to travel locally. Another person might prefer doing even something totally different. So there's so many stories to share. And so I think I will have a lot of things to talk about still after 1.5 years on a podcast.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think I was saying, well, I was totally saying to you, like, I've talked about sustainable travel with a couple of other people, but they don't have your angle. So the way that you're coming at it from. And so it's interesting. It's always interesting for me to talk to different people who are talking about similar things, but you just have a different mindset about it. And the others didn't have a podcast. So I just think that, the fact that you get to talk to so many people is really interesting. And I'll say the first episode that I listened to was, I don't remember the guy's name or the title of the episode, but he would travel to different places and like clean up at the trash, what,
Trash
trash
traveler.
traveler.
Yes, yes, yes. He's
Um,
German and he lives in Portugal.
yeah,
Yeah.
but just the idea of being visibly sustainable, like in front of people, cleaning up their area or, however that works. But I was so inspired by that. And I loved that. And I was like, I want to hear more about the other people that you're talking to.
Yeah. No, I had a lot of interesting conversations with on my podcast. I think that the trash traveler you were mentioning just right now was really inspiring because what I feel sometimes with sustainable travel is that people they think about it as something scary, something which is also like if you're more aware of like climate change and everything, like there's a big part of shaming people for traveling, which is one part, and then the other part is like just anxiety for the fact that like the world is changing, right? And the more you research about it, the more people get like actual anxiety and are scared of like what the future will be. So I love his approach because he's the trash traveler I'm talking about is so positive. He's trying to make a fun game out of cleaning up trash. He's making music about I don't know, finding plastic in the ocean. It's not something funny, but he makes it into something fun and like
Memorable.
yeah, memorable and something you want to be part of, and something you cannot like be like rolling your eyes and be like, oh, there's somebody cleaning the
How
ground.
can you be
Like,
bad at how can you
isn't
be
there
bad at that?
yeah, why would you do that? Isn't there somebody who's like being paid for doing that? Like, you know. Um, but yeah, so I think he's really inspiring, and a lot of my guests, they are really inspiring. So I already had a couple of, I think I'm not even sure. I think I'm at episode 27, so I already had a couple of guests. You have way more. But I think it's really interesting to speak with so many people, and yeah, I'm happy with about that I
Yeah.
get to do that.
So who else have you talked to that you would want to share like different ideas about traveling sustainably? And then I want to hear about yours too,
Actually,
because you travel a lot.
yeah, I do travel a lot, but I'm thinking about one that's currently coming to mind, and it's one that I interviewed a long time ago, but it's popping up now, is a guy called Jelle Vet. He's from Belgium as well. And he's traveling to the seven peaks of the world on human power. So we talked about a rowing journey in Papua Guinea,
Wow.
and he rowed for a bit because, of course, you cannot. Well, you can swim through the water, but it will be difficult.
Right.
So he had like from island to island that he was rowing between the islands and then sleeping on some deserted islands or some islands where there were like maybe a few people. Yeah, I mean, that conversation with him was really interesting for me. I don't think he necessarily started the idea from it being a sustainable journey per se. Um, but what I understood is that it was also because it's like a cheap way of traveling. It's he's seeing the world on his pace, on his own power. Like he's meeting so many great people along the way. He's seeing the top of like the highest mountains in every continent, and he's doing it on human power. Like you don't need like any engine. Like we're talking most of the time, I'm talking to cyclists, to train travelers, to I even talked to a guy who's traveling on cargo ships. But
Wow.
you can also just take your legs and um,
Take your
or
time.
yeah, and you walk up the mountain. He takes the bicycle. It's super cheap. You just need a bicycle. You ride until there's water. You take the little canoe. You take the canoe to the next island, and then you walk up the mountain. I mean, not a lot of people have this time
Right.
or ambition, but that was one of the interviews that really opened up my eyes to see like, okay, I mean, there's literally no reason why we are not able to do this. Like, he can
Right.
do it, we can do it.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Right. Or even just do a little bit more with human power because that's a really big undertaking. The whole
Hmm.
world. Oh my goodness. And that's amazing. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
huge feat.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but with a very low footprint. Most people who travel around the world have a very high
For
carbon
sure.
footprint.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, even if we just, did more walking or more bicycling, we might not all be able to do what he's doing, but we can,
Yeah.
do more
You
and
can already start by go to pick up your groceries by bicycle. I mean, it's maybe not a travel thing, but it's already an impact.
hmm for sure. Wow. And and how about you? Because you said that you're from Belgium
I am from Belgium.
and you live in Germany.
I do. Yeah. I've been traveling for a long time, I feel like. I was always born, okay, I lived in Belgium for the first 18 years of my life. And then I moved abroad for 1 year and I lived in Turkey first. I lived in Turkey. I was an exchange student in some way. I was living with a host family, and it was really amazing to see the different culture, to learn the language. It was, yeah, a really beautiful experience that really made me see the world in a different light, I would say. And then I came back to Belgium, and I forgot to speak German because I already speak as a background, my mother tongue is French, but I'm living in a Dutch part of Belgium, which
Mm.
means that I actually also, my second mother tongue is Dutch. And then I knew a little bit of German because I'm quite good at languages. So I learned German a couple of hours a week at school. And then I moved to Turkey and I learned Turkish. And then I came back and my German was gone. So I was like, I really wanna get my German back because how cool would it be to, again, to speak, able to speak five languages plus English, of course. Um, so then I did my Erasmus, which is an exchange during university. When I had opportunity to do Erasmus, I went to Germany, and there's where I met my boyfriend, and we fell in love. And now I moved here, and I'm here since 3.5 years.
Wow. Um, That's so, all right. So you learned German before you moved to Germany. It wasn't like you moved to Germany to be immersed in the language.
I mean, both go hand in hand. I mean, for Turkish, definitely I didn't know any Turkish before moving to Turkey, and I spoke quite well when I came back, which is in 1 year. So I was pretty proud of myself. And then for German, I knew a little bit, and then I came to Germany, and I'm a person that really likes to immerse myself. When I go to a country, I think it's very important also for the local people to try to at least understand a couple of words, speak a little bit. And if I'm going to any country for more than 1 month, I'm going to try to learn the language
Right.
anyway. So when I did my Erasmus exchange to Germany, I actually chose to live in a co-housing space with three other Germans. So I was living with them, and the first hour they spoke English to me, and then I was like, no, no, no. We shall speak German. And if I don't understand, you repeat, you pretend you are the thing you're talking about, you do miming,
Right.
whatever it is, I shall understand. So yeah, that's how I learned German.
Wow. That's amazing. So 5 languages?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So French, Dutch,
Turkish.
German, English, and Turkish. Yeah.
I have one. Um, I can sing lots of languages, but I don't understand
That's already something.
them. So, but you've traveled other places, right? Because you were saying you stopped plane travel for short
Yeah.
distances. Um, and so what do you have stories or do you have things that you, as far as sustainable travel that you would recommend or want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about a trip of 2 years ago when that was a bit further away because I live in Germany now, but I go quite often to Belgium, right? So first things first, that I don't take a flight anymore between Belgium and Germany. It's 800 kilometers-ish, I think, between both locations. And if I take the train, it takes me 7.5 hours, 7 hours to get to the capital of Belgium, and then I only need to go home. Um, and then it takes by plane, I would need to go to the airport and take the plane, and then from the airport need to get home as well. And then there's like the airport taxes in Belgium as well, so you need to pay a little bit more for the train to go back home. And it doesn't make sense even in time wise, in my opinion.
Right.
And it also doesn't make sense for the money because even if like European flights, I don't know about the US, but in Europe the prices of flights can be incredibly cheap. Sometimes my flights was cheaper than my train to the airport, which is insane to think about. But if you book your train ahead of time, I mean, I've been traveling between Belgium and Germany a lot of times, and I've been having like very last minute tickets. I had to pay 100 euros for almost. But then if I book it ahead of time, like literally yesterday, I bought my ticket to go to Belgium again, and I paid 20 euros. So
Oh.
it really depends. If you're like a couple of months ahead of time and you can plan it in, you're not going to pay a lot of money for the train, which is great. But to come back to your question about like a story, if I can share one, like the one of the nicest trips I think I had was an interrail adventure. I call it an adventure because I was definitely on the road for a couple of days.
Mm,
And basically, what we did is my family and I, we went to Greece. We were close to Athens, and we flew as a family.
right.
And then I was like, okay, I really don't want to go back by flight. I'm already flying there. For me, this is making an exception, but I want to be with my family, and I think it's important to make time for that as well. So I flew to get there. But then to come back, I was like, okay, let me challenge myself and make a little trip out of it. So I traveled back, and I couldn't go overland because it's a bit tricky with the different countries. So I
Mm,
had to take the ferry to go by boat to the south of Italy. And then in Italy, I have some friends, thanks to the fact that I lived in Turkey and lived abroad a long time. I know a lot of people in a lot of countries, so I just went to the cities where I had some people where I could have a couch to crash on, basically.
Right?
And I visited them in the south of Italy, then went to the north of Italy, and then I went straight to Oktoberfest, which is in Germany, where I met again my boyfriend and his family, who were celebrating Oktoberfest. So it was a really great trip and a lovely ending. Yeah, before then going back home to Leipzig again by train.
Mm. Wow. So you would be the person to know if we wanted to travel sustainably. Like, if someone could say, "Hey, Clara, I'm thinking about going to Greece. What would you recommend?" Is there I had a guest last year. Her name was Nikla, and she lives in southern Italy in Puglia. And she was talking about travel, and she said, I can find you places that are not the hotels, but they're more like a house share or, something like that. And so she would be a good person for Southern Italy, but like, what would you recommend for somebody, I guess, would be the question if they were traveling. Like, what are your best tips for traveling sustainably? How about that?
It's a very good question. I think the most important things when you're traveling sustainably is in per se transportation. So how are you getting to your destination? But also how are you moving around at your destination? So um, if you're traveling, if you're going to anything in a distance under 1,000 kilometers, I think you should take the train. I don't think you should fly at all. Um, and above it, preferably the train, but I understand that not everybody has like this amount of time. But if you take a flight, maybe use it to really do something for a longer period and an occasion, not for a city trip, to go to Paris for 2 days and then fly back. I mean, a lot of people are doing it, and it shocks me every time because
Right.
this is something like it's not necessary. So I think the thought that goes with it when you're traveling is also important. But I don't want to shame people as well. Like if they're flying and they think it's important to be at this location, but even if you're at a location, try to support the local businesses. Try to go to the bakery instead of to like a or a small bakery, let's say, instead of like how do you call it in English? A chain, right?
Right.
So if you're looking for adventures or things to do instead of using Get Your Guides, go on Google Maps and have a look at what's around. Type in ceramic course or whatever you want to learn when you're traveling, or honey or whatever. You can go
Right.
and just call them and pay them straight instead of going through a third party, because these Get Your Guide and other companies I don't know the names of, they all take their cuts, which is totally normal and logical, and it also helps the companies. But if you are able to just do your research yourself, like I think this benefits the local economy a lot.
Sure. I mean, I would think there are so many if you're vacationing or whatever you're doing when you're traveling, if you're taking excursions or sightseeing or something like that, so many of the things are not, for me at least, they're not always something that I'm super jazzed about. So that makes a lot of sense to like look it up yourself and see if you can find another way to do something that you really want to do.
Also, if I'm just allowed to jump in there, like, do you want to sit, for example, you want to do a boat trip in Greece? I can talk about that because we did it a couple of times because my family loves to go to Greece lately. My grandma is learning Greek, so
Oh,
every
just
year
make
it's
that
Greece.
plan.
Um, yeah. And what I wanted to say is that what we had experienced is that when we try to find a boat, like in a more private way, we were on a private boat with the captain, basically, and we had like a really amazing time. And then we did it one time via Get Your Guide. Maybe that's also why I had the name in my head. and we were sitting with 10 other tourists. Most of them were from the US. Um, and it's just another way of, like, it's not the same. Like, you're not surrounded with local people. Like, I think that's also why it's good to do your research yourself and to contact people directly instead of going with like big organizations, because you will be abroad again with the people from your own country or like with all the foreigners, instead of just having the experience for you between the locals.
Hmm. Totally. Yes. And I think that I mean the trains in Europe are very, very efficient. They're not so much in the US. But European travel is way, way better than it is here. Um, and so I feel like, if you're going to the European countries, you should totally take advantage of that because you can get on a plane in the US. That you have to because the trains are not as great. But especially if you're going to Europe, you should definitely take advantage of that. And it's so quick to do that. And I mean, like you were saying, if you were flying, it literally took about the same amount of time, but you didn't have the security and the waiting and layovers and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. One thing that also pops in my head is not only about that, but when you were going to a location, that what you can also do is to rent a bicycle when you're in the city. So that's also something I really like to do. I either rent a bike or you can even bring your foldable bike if you have one, of course. But not everybody has their foldable bike that they can take on the train. But if you're going to another city and you just rent a bicycle there instead of using the public transport, again, you will see more. You're not relying on the buses, or you don't need to take a taxi or whatever. So that's also a great tip.
Wow, that is a really good one. And I rented a bike in South Carolina, and that was actually super fun. You see everything differently. Like if you're taking
Hmm.
a car or something, you're paying attention to the road, not the scenery, that type of thing, and you just feel rushed and you have traffic and stuff like that. Um, it's different everywhere and for everyone, but it's a really good thought for sure to put out there. Like if you are able to rent a bike instead of a car, it's a really good thing. And exercise, fresh air.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so many pluses. And you see places that you wouldn't see otherwise.
Hmm. For sure. Wow. And so what is what was your favorite place to visit? How about that?
Whew. My favorite place to visit. Can I just be totally honest and say my hometown?
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a beautiful hometown. I would say my favorite place to visit is just to go to the city where I was born. Every time I go back, I'm like, it's not so bad here.
I love that. That's not some that's I did not expect that, and that's so great. So many people are like,
Yeah.
I gotta get away from here. And
Oh no, 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 no. I love coming back. I love where I am right now in Leipzig. There's a lot of beautiful nature in Ghent. It's my hometown in Belgium. Nature is missing a bit, but just like the beauty of the buildings, the architecture, it's like a bit medieval. Maybe you don't know Ghent, but you know Bruges, or you have seen pictures of Bruges. It's like a pretty famous city in Belgium. Ghent is a bit similar, but then less tourists because it's less well known
right.
and a little bit less like there's a bit of more of a mixture of newer buildings than in Bruges. Bruges is like really medieval only almost. And so in Ghent there's like of many different times. Um, like there's a lot of beautiful buildings and there's the water that flows through the city. And like I don't know, I just want to eat French fries, sit next to the water, have a beer. Yeah.
That's really nice. And so was you were talking about the person that was traveling the world doing the seven peaks with manpower. Was that your favorite episode, would you say? Or
I
that's just
mean, I'm not allowed to say that it's my favorite episode because this was originally
they might
for
hear.
my YouTube video. This was
Oh,
originally
okay.
for a YouTube video. So this was an episode I repurposed actually. So I had just like this whole conversation, which I thought was really interesting. So you can listen to the whole episode on my podcast. But originally it was a YouTube video. It's also on my YouTube channel. Um, who my favorite episodes? Oh God, I think it's difficult to say.
Hmm.
Um, I mean,
I know
oh
I could do like
gosh.
a top five maybe, but there are all the conversations are so great.
I mean, one episode that I really loved recently is I've been talking with Connie, who's also a content creator who I knew through Instagram, which is so much fun. And she's doing a lot about preservation work. And she's talking about monkeys in Southeast Asia and why people shouldn't touch the monkeys or shouldn't feed the monkeys and whatever, and like all of these things, like how to do ethical wildlife tourism, basically. And we had a really lovely conversation, and I think it's one of my favorite episodes because I feel like we were really vibing. We were really like um laughing a lot as well and just like having a lot of fun in the conversation because the way she was explaining the fact that, for example, I would ask her like, yeah, why can't we like touch
Right.
why can't I take a picture with a
Yep.
monkey if somebody's offering this opportunity to me? Like, why can I not do this? And then she would, instead of saying like, yeah, it's bad for the monkey's mental health, bam, she would say like, yeah, I understand. This monkey is so cute and he has beautiful eyes, and it's most of the time it's small because it's still a baby. But you know, a baby doesn't want to be treated like that. And she was going about it in a very sweet way, very understanding. And I think I really loved that approach.
Not like just don't do it, okay?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She was explaining it, but she had like so much patience while explaining it. And yeah, I think that, like for my recent episodes, that definitely the top.
Awesome. That's really interesting. And she's in, where did you say she's in?
Southeast Asia, I think she's based in Vietnam right now, but she's not in one country only. So
In no place specific. Okay. And I would assume that that's probably something that happens a lot there, that the tourists want to be with the monkeys and take pictures with the monkeys and stuff like that. There was a thing in the US. I'm sure it happens a lot, but like people wanting to swim with the dolphins and have the picture taken with the dolphins and stuff like that. And sometimes the dolphins are getting dry and they want to be underwater and they don't want to be, forced to take pictures and stuff like that. Um, and I think that's a really important message that she was
yeah.
sharing.
Yeah, and even like when I was making promo for the podcast, I remember I wanted to post something, and I think I looked for like some B-roll, and I was finding an image of a guy with a little monkey on his shoulder, and I showed it to her because I show my promotional material to the people before I publish it. And I told her like, yeah, this is what I want to make. And then she was like, yeah, yeah, no, but I'm not posting this. I really don't want to show it even. Like we already know it exists. We don't have to show it. So we show a cute monkey. That's fine. We can show many cute monkeys, but we don't want to show like the human interaction with a monkey, which is not consenting.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah.
So important for sure. Um,
For the dolphins, actually, I can also share a story if you want, because
sure.
I've seen dolphins for the first time in November, and there's an episode coming up really soon that is about like dolphin watching.
Oh,
So yeah, and basically the maybe actually how to say, I saw the dolphins for the first time, and I was so excited about it because we were helping like a research team. So basically, it's not like an official dolphin watching boat, but they were doing research and they were trying to get how many, like, if the dolphins are always staying in the same region and trying to understand if this is the same dolphin they see again, like maybe 5 years later, they take pictures of the fins of the dolphins and they're like, oh, this is the same dolphin. So they can kind of track where they see the dolphins over the years. Um, and like they do a lot of research in this, I think it's at the south of Portugal where we were. Um, and yeah, it was super exciting to see the dolphin for the first time. It was really like I had to calm down because
Was it everything you
it was
hoped for?
so cute. But yeah, they told us as well on the boat, they were like, yeah, don't scream, don't start like going all crazy, don't try to pet the animal in the water. These are natural animals. We don't want to interfere with them. They're playing with the boat because they know us. They know this boat. We're researching them since many, many years. They know we're the boat. They will play around. They are not scared of us, but we don't want to scare them. And we also have to consider how we're going in the water. So we have to go in a slight zigzag way, if I remember it correctly. You cannot follow all the dolphins from the back because they will feel like they're being followed. But you
Oh,
cannot go like frontal, like on a 90-degree angle, let's say, to them, because then you will cut the group in two. So you have to drive the boat in a specific way as well, so that the dolphins don't feel like they're being threatened, basically. And I learned a lot about the dolphins
that's
um,
fascinating.
when I was there. Yeah, and I also recorded an episode that's gonna be really interesting as well.
Excited for that. Wow. Well, gosh, Clara, this is so interesting, and I'm so grateful for all the experiences that you've had that you can share. Um, and so I have a couple of things to ask. So one is, what does the word sustainability mean to you?
Whew. The word sustainability means to me that we are trying to do something good for the world, for the future of the planet, that we want more green around, that we want to take care of animals and nature, of life in general, um, and that it's something, in my opinion, that goes in everyday actions, but also in decisions of corporations, whatever. Like it can be such a big topic and it can also be something very small. Um,
Right,
So for me, sustainability is something I see in a positive daylight. It's something that reminds us that we can change. Climate is changing anyway, and we have to decide if we still want to be here as humankind. But the planet is gonna keep thriving. So for me, it's something that gives us a chance to get knowledge about the world and improve it in our own way. That's also why I want to make this podcast. That's why you probably also do a lot of things that you're doing, and I think it's really important. Yeah.
wow. I love that.
May I ask you
Oh, sure,
something?
sure.
What does it mean for you?
For me, I mean, I take it in a very personal way. Like I just want to add less to, like less of a footprint, less waste. That, that's one of many, but like that's my go-to answer. I want to add less. Thanks for asking.
Beautiful.
But
Yeah, of course.
I love that you brought up that, sustainability can be so big, but it also can be so small. And so that's where I just love that you brought that up because it's I say it in the intro to the podcast. Like it's such a big word and it can be very overwhelming. But if you just bring it back to you, like make it small, what can I do? That's just so important.
Yeah, and what do I want to do? Because maybe, for example, I'm vegetarian. I can do that. Maybe you're not vegetarian, but you do something else, which is good. You know, like everybody does their own little part, and we don't need to shame anybody for not doing it all. Because if we would all be doing it all, we would probably not be like a happy human anymore, because we're just limiting ourselves to the possibility that the world is offering us in today's age.
Mm.
So I
Wow.
think it's really good to just look at what can you do, what makes you happy to do, what you feel good by to do your own contribution. Is it to do a cleanup? Is it to eat in a different diet? Is it whatever it is, travel differently? In my opinion, that's something that I take a lot of, I put a lot of effort in. But everybody does their own little, brings their own stone to build a wall. Not a
Absolutely.
bad
No,
wall,
that's
a good wall.
totally. I mean, we all just need to do we all need to do something and we all have a part in it. And
Yeah.
I appreciate that view so much. And so Travel Devil, how can people find you?
Travel Devil is out on every podcasts app you might have. And you can also go to find me on my Instagram, which is called Clara Franken. Clara with a C and Franken with CK. I don't know how you would pronounce it in English. But yeah, so I'm Clara Franken on every channel, on YouTube, on Instagram. Basically, that's the two main ones. And then the podcast is just called Travel Devil, out on every platform.
Awesome. And I will have links to all that in the show notes as well. But Clara, thank you so much. I love your the way that you're thinking about it. I love that you're doing a podcast about it. And it's such a niche topic. And it's so important because we all want to travel and we just need to um, think about making less of an impact.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the podcast, because I think it's really important to spread the message about sustainable travel, and it's great that your audience will hear this as well. And I think it's um it's really important to spread the word. So thank you for inviting me and to be open to for this topic as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Clara Franken. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you.
I just want to take a second to thank my guest again for speaking with me and sharing such great information. I love having these conversations with folks. I also want to thank Buzzsprout for hosting the podcast, for Jane Bolduck and her music genius, for Becca Coffron and her award-winning artwork. And thank you for listening. I appreciate that so much. Please check out the show notes for any links and extra information. And if you would like to follow my guest and find out more about them, I'm sure they would love the follow. And if you don't mind leaving a rating or review wherever you're listening, and just help to get this podcast in front of new eyes, that would be amazing. I would really love that. And feel free to reach out to me on the socials and let me know what you're thinking. And if you would like to be a guest on the podcast, please let me know that. I would love to have a conversation with you about sustainability. All right. Thank you again. I hope you have a great rest of the week.
There'll come a day, my mama told me, when I find love to have and hold me, a heart that's strong and so sincere. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? Oh, tell me, how do I get there from here? 'Cause here and now I'm so far down that mercy's bound, yeah, to find me. We'll find a way to soothe the sickness. We'll heal the ache with sweet forgiveness. finally found me, well, there'll be music, ooh, and good friends around me, yeah, yeah. And I'll just smile through happy tears and wonder